Environment is one of the three practices in the Culture and Climate Playbook. When we refer to environment, we refer to the space in which we interact with students, both in person and digitally. This may be a classroom, a resource room, nurse's office, gymnasium, counselor's office, and so on, as well as the digital environments of Schoology, Seesaw, or Google Classroom. How we set up our environment often reflects our own personal tastes. However, as we think about environment as a Tier 1 practice, our focus must be on the effect our environments have on our students. How we set up our environment, both in person and digitally, can impact student focus and attention. Studies have shown that cluttered, unorganized classrooms impact student concentration and anxiety. Therefore, an environment designed to support students to navigate the organization of the classroom, manage their emotions, and monitor their behaviors will have a positive impact on student learning. In face-to-face instruction, as well as in remote learning, our job is to design environments that are safe, collaborative, and purposeful so as to maximize student learning. How we design our environments is strategic, recognizing the effect of our decisions on all learners. In this module, we will focus on what these strategic decisions look like in a remote environment. Just as you consider the arrangements of furniture in your environment, you are now thinking about how to organize your virtual space. In remote learning, you'll communicate more through written communication. How you communicate information is as important as the message itself. Of course, we set up learning environments to be safe for all students. When students are online, we must take additional measures to ensure this safety. First, we will look at tips supporting organization of your learning environment. The ultimate goal in an organized environment is for students to be able to independently navigate the environment and be able to anticipate how material will be shared with them. Tip number 1, identify your virtual space and stick to it. By now, you've selected your remote learning platform. While you can use other digital tools, students and their caregivers rely on your consistent use of this learning platform. Your virtual space will become the reliable and primary source for communication and assignments. Tip number 2, use the organization tools that are built in. Google Classroom organizes through topics, Schoology with folders, and Seesaw posts all appear in the stream. Yes, you can put content on any of these platforms without using any of the organizational structures, but that isn't any help to your students. During your work time, you'll be able to explore suggestions on how to organize using Google Classroom, Seesaw, or Schoology. There is not one right way to organize. It is important, however, to provide consistency in your structure. So give some thought now on how you can organize materials for your students before they begin working on these platforms. Tip number 3, be consistent. The online environment forces students to sort through a lot of information, oftentimes without adult support. The more consistent you are with how you supply this information, the more independent and successful your students will be. Tip number 4, clear the clutter. Whatever your platform, there are ways to keep the most relevant information visible to students. During your work time, you'll find tips for managing older and lesser used posts. In addition, you need to manage your own clutter. All learning platforms, Seesaw, Classroom, and Schoology, generate notifications on activity by your students. These notifications end up in your email, quickly cluttering up your own workflow. You'll find tutorials on how to manage these notifications. Make sure to check these out. Next, we will shift our focus to how to be an effective communicator in remote learning. Review these reminders to ensure your communication is clear to your students and their families. Tip number 5, identify how you'll communicate with your students. As in face-to-face, you will regularly interact with individual students. Each of the platforms provide options for you to send messages to students as individuals or in small groups. In addition, D303 students have access to email beginning in grade 3. As part of your environment, you will need to establish your system for how you and your students will communicate asynchronously. Then you will need to make sure to teach students where they should regularly check for messages from you and how to reply to them. Tip number 6, use text formatting regularly. Text formatting helps the reader navigate text and focus on meaning. Using bold, italics, and color can highlight key words and phrases. Don't overuse these, though. Use headings. Consider using bullets, especially when composing lists of facts. Keep your font choice consistent. Visuals are also effective at communicating information. Finally, remember that crowding a space with a lot of text will overwhelm a reader. Instead, use white space to balance out information. Consider even spreading the information out on multiple pages and slides. Also, hyperlink text instead of adding long URLs. Hold on, something isn't right here. Okay, take a look at this now. This is so much better, right? Using text formatting makes you a more effective communicator. Number 7, be concise. The KISS rule, keep it short and simple, has never been more important. Spend more time constructing clear communication to your students. In turn, your students will spend more of their time with your intended learning objective. Richard Branson is quoted as saying, "Complexity is your enemy. Any fool can make something complicated. It is hard to keep things simple." Your work is to ensure your communication is clear for others. In doing so, you'll prevent follow-up emails and missing assignments from confused students or their parents. The list of things concise writers do comes from a blog from the Grammarly website. Take a look at it in the resources section for great hints on how to polish your communication style. Our final outcome is to understand D303 policies to protect the privacy of students when using different online tools. It is each educator's responsibility to ensure you understand and follow these policies. Tip number 8, understand District 303's Web 2.0 policy. Web 2.0 refers to any Chromebook, Android, or iOS app, any website, or any other digital application that requires students to create a login with any personal information. Seesaw, all of the Google tools, including Classroom Docs, Slides, etc., and Schoology, are Web 2.0 tools. These tools are pre-approved by the district, which means you can automatically use them in your instruction with students. There are many other excellent Web 2.0 tools available for you to use with your students. Some of these have been approved. Some have not, but educators have the opportunity to submit these tools for review. If the tool you submit complies with the federal legislation protecting the safety of minors, then it will be approved for district use. Each website creates their own policy on how they will comply with federal regulations and protect the data of children. In addition, websites or apps may also designate specific age requirements for use of their product. You will now review the district's Web 2.0 policy. Once you've reviewed this policy, there will be a few questions to help you know how well you understood this policy. Tip number 9, practice internet safety and digital citizenship. Students share in the responsibility to stay safe online. D303 students receive internet safety and digital citizenship instruction at each grade level. When they are online, educators need to help them make connections to what they've learned in order to apply these lessons successfully. Your LRC director can collaborate with you on the lessons students receive at your grade level. In addition, in our resources section, check out the Common Sense link for additional materials to support students to work safely in their remote environments. We've provided 9 tips on how you can design your environment to support student learning. When at school, observations on how students interact in your environment give you feedback on its effectiveness and may lead you to move furniture around, place materials for students to access independently, and so on. What can you do in a remote setting to ensure the environment is working for students? You might begin by providing a tour of your remote learning space. Screencast yourself moving through your remote environment, similar to how you were introduced to this course. Another idea is to use some of the Get to Know You activities as assignments in your learning platform. Give your students practice turning in assignments, commenting on classmates' posts, and so on as you foster relationship with students and between students. Once students have practiced using your remote environment to access and turn in practice work, they will be ready to get down to business with your regular work. Once students have some experience in your remote environment, pull them to find out how they are doing in finding their way around. Ask quick questions that help you affirm the choices you made or can lead you to changes that you might make. For younger students, pull their families as well. Finally, use your observations to reflect. Are there students that are not performing as expected? Consider in what ways the organization of your platform or communication could be a barrier to their learning. The final tip for the remote learning environment is to remember that all work should not be online. Assign offline learning as part of your remote environment. Consider the age of your learners in determining screen time versus offline time. All learners, though, need breaks from the screen. Keep directions simple. You could even recommend students write a one-sentence note to guide them in their offline work. A well-planned environment positively impacts student learning. In the remote environment, educators create organization structures to ensure students can access assignments and materials independently. Educators ensure written communication is clear and concise. Finally, D303 protects the privacy and safety of students online through the Web 2.0 policy and through Internet safety lessons. Now it's time for you to personalize your learning with resources supporting these tips.